You are now listening to Hoardganize with professional organizer and extreme cleaner Rachel Seavey. Every Sunday at 6 p.m., Rachel shares organizing tips and hacks. Rachel combines her experience, expertise, and compassion to help people learn new methods on how to deal with overwhelming clutter. Her media appearances include The Hoarders Show, the CBS Sunday Morning Show, and the Lady Brain Show. Take it away, Rachel.
Hey, collectors. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hoardganize podcast. Welcome. I am your host, Rachel Seavey, and I am so excited. Okay, on this podcast, I have an awesome interview with Satwant Singh out of the UK. I met Satwant a couple years ago at the San Francisco Mental Health Association's International Clutter and Hoarding Conference, where he was presenting on the topic of hoarding disorder. We connected at the conference, and then the following year, which was just last fall, he was presenting again. And now he had a book and an application to show off. So I immediately gravitated towards his book, which was bright orange. And I exactly remember thinking, how clever is that? It's going to totally stand out in a hoard and hopefully not get lost. So definitely got immediate kudos on just the thoughtfulness of making the book a bright orange. He did let me borrow the book, and I thumbed through it, and I was totally intrigued. I ordered the book on Amazon. It's called Overcoming Hoarding. And I decided I'd actually test it out on one of my clients. So this podcast isn't actually about that, but it is something that I do when I find a good book that I think people could use. I do lend them out to my clients. So the next thing I did was I downloaded his app. It's called Reclaim Your Space and Life, and that's why he's here today. What a great idea to create an app for people overwhelmed with clutter. It's low cost help and guidance just a few fingertips away. I'm just so all over it. And I want to learn more about this app. Before we go into the app, I'd like to introduce Satwant Singh. He is a nurse consultant in cognitive behavioral therapy and mental health and clinical lead for an improving access to psychological therapies service in London. He facilitates the London Hoarding Treatment Group, which is the first treatment group providing specialized treatment in the UK for individuals with the issue of hoarding disorder. Satwant has been involved in a number of research studies in the field of hoarding disorder. He regularly facilitates workshops, and he teaches and presents at conferences on cognitive behavioral therapy and treatment of hoarding disorders. He has co-authored the self-help book that I told you about in my introduction. It's titled Overcoming Hoarding, and he's developed a self-help app titled Reclaiming Your Space and Life. Well, thank you so much for visiting us at the Hoardganize podcast. And I just want to ask you some questions about your wonderful app. My first question is, why did you create the app?
Right. First of all, I would like to say thank you for inviting me to be on this podcast this evening. To answer your first question, why I developed the app, as you're aware, I co-authored a book called Overcoming Hoarding for individuals with hoarding issues. I don't like the word hoarding disorder, so I prefer to use the word hoarding issues because everyone is at different levels in the spectrum, and it's less labeling as such. It's a behavior. So the person is engaging with the behavior rather than the person is the hoarder. So individuals who are hoarding who engage in hoarding behavior. And one of the reasons I had the app was that to work adjunct alongside with the book, because the mobile phones are mobile, they are with you. You don't need a book as such. So it very much mirrors quite a lot of the book there that is handy in your hand, in your palm, that you can take along with you and not worry about not having a book with you. And the other thing, the app is the mobile phone is small, and people constantly tend to have their mobile phones with them. It's rarely that people leave them behind. And it's also about, giving, providing that opportunity to family members and professionals to have it within their reach, rather than carrying along lots of stuff.
Wow. Well, I've gotten some time to play around with it, and I definitely am interested in learning more. But I do love that it's mobile. I know a lot of my clients, even during our sessions, get distracted, but they're always, they have their phone on them. So this might be a good thing to take a break with a client and do, to just kind of get away from the physical clutter and maybe sit outside and do it together, or have them do it themselves, maybe away from the home.
Yeah. And you see, the app is also useful because you can take photographs of the environment and have it in place, and you can go out of the environment to look at them. Because one of the interventions on the app, the Hoard acronym tool, what I always suggest to people is that when you use that tool, is to use it outside of your home environment, in a neutral environment where there's less emotional attachment to the items, for you to actually look at your photographs of your environment, so that you can answer fully and sort of make sense of the issues that you are facing.
And so you said, and I absolutely agree about there being a spectrum with hoarding, that this app doesn't have to be for extreme clutter situations. It could be with somebody that just feels like they may have some hoarding behavior tendencies. Is this app for anyone else? Could I use it with clients, or could a family member or a friend use this app with a person who has this behavior?
Very much so. It can be. It's designed in a way that it's not just for the individual with hoarding behaviors. It's for family members and professionals to use it. Yes, very much so. And it's also quite helpful. Sometimes you might be working with individuals who may not have a mobile phone, who may not be able to access the app. You as a professional could use it. You could take photographs with them and help them to work through the app as when you do your professional consultations.
I love that. I definitely know that when my clients actively engage in the process, that there's definitely a better outcome. So thank you. And why do you personally like to help this specific population? And do you have any personal close ties to hoarding?
Well, it's a very interesting question, because I'm currently doing a piece of academic work, and that's one of the areas I had to explore. Why am I doing it? And it's very much so. I come from the Far East, and in the Far East, I grew up in a very Chinese area, and I grew up in an environment where we didn't actually keep things. When someone passes on, we tend to get rid of the stuff. We regularly sort of cleared items out of the house. In the new year, we would have new crockery. The old crockery went out. We would not keep anything that's broken or chipped, or clothes which are no longer of use. And when I came to the United Kingdom, and I was working in an inpatient facility, and there were lots of referrals of people coming in, it just intrigued me. What is it that drives people to want to keep their items? What is it that's so difficult for them to let go? And I think that's one of the motivating factors. And I find it quite interesting, because beneath all these problems, there's a lovely person down there, which often gets forgotten.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm just so lucky to get to work with the most amazing people. I just think, 99% of the people I work with are absolutely delightful. And I'm just so grateful that I can learn from them and get to hang out with them during such an intense process in their lives. But yeah, it's too bad that there's such a stigma with hoarding, because a lot of the times the people are just fabulous.
Yeah. Yes, and it's very sad in terms of the stigma, and I think the media plays a role in perpetuating the stigma, because currently If you watch television, you have the hoarding channels, you have hoarding programs. It's very much about looking at people's suffering rather than sort of highlighting this is a difficulty, let's work in terms or helping someone to work through, rather than sort of looking and peering in as though they're an exhibit as such, which I think is very stigmatizing, and it's kind of sad, actually. That's one of the reasons why I don't personally get involved with television programs. I get invitations very regularly, but I said it just sort of contravenes my ethical sort of practice and beliefs about that. You know, it's about the individual's journey. It's supporting the individual, not sensationalizing their problem as such.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, is this app available on iPhone, iPad? What if somebody doesn't have an Apple device? Can they somehow
Okay.
use it?
Yeah, it's available on iTunes, and also it's available on Google Play.
Oh, good. So everyone can download that. Excuse me. And how much does it cost?
I believe it's about, I think it's $1.99 in the United States. It's very cheap. One of the reasons it cost me a lot to develop the app. The key thing was not about making a profit from it. It's about being accessible so people can use it. The reason I could have not charged it anyway. I charge a small amount just to pay for the maintenance of the app, because the app also needs to be maintained and updated from time to time.
Oh, absolutely. It was very reasonable. I remember when I downloaded it about 6 months ago, and very easy to use. I have it open
Yeah.
here on my iPhone,
Yeah.
and I love it. So the first tab or button, what do you actually call this on an app? What is the right vernacular?
Right. The app is called Your Space in Life, and I think that because what's happened, people who start bringing things in and start saving things and keeping things, they lose their space, and also they lose their life because they lose the opportunity of being able to live with having friends over for the fear that they would have to invite back. So the app is called Reclaim Your Space and Life, and those components there are the tabs that you were asking me about.
Great. And so someone just goes on to iTunes or Google Play and they just type in reclaim your space and life, and they should be able. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And so the first, excuse me, the first tab you have, why do people engage in hoarding behaviors?
Yeah. So the reason I wrote this piece was very much about giving people an understanding, why do people engage in hoarding behaviors? And it's also about not blaming, not labeling, not sort of saying, it's one reason or the other. There are multiple reasons. We really don't know the true reason, but we certainly know, of my experience of working with individuals, that it's multifaceted, different reasons for different individuals. So it's also important just to understand, rather than worrying too much about why have I got a hoarding issue. It's about what I do about it that's more important.
I love that. And there's a lot of information there for people to read. I know a lot of people like to research and learn about hoarding disorder and hoarding tendencies. So I think the information here is great. The next tab seems equally as helpful. I mean, how do I know that I have a hoarding problem?
Yeah.
And then you press on it, and then it's like check boxes. How does someone do this?
So all you have to do is just tap on it and click on it, and the ticks come on, and you can untick it also. What it is just help. What I tried to do was to look at the range of issues that would sort of help people define what is hoarding disorder, or what are hoarding behaviors. It's just helping people recognize. And it's about the number of ticks that you have there. If you answer any one of those, you certainly have some sort of hoarding tendency.
The next tab, what is my current situation? How do you use this?
Okay, this is very important because I think we need to have a baseline in terms of when you're working with your hoarding issues, or anyone is working with their hoarding issues, to have a baseline to know where we are starting from so that you can measure it. So basically this tab here, it's about the ability to take photographs. You will have the categories of living room, bathroom, bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, hallway, and stairway. All you have to do is that you click on the button, upload your photographs, the camera gets turned on, you take the photograph, and then you sort of specify what is it. Is it the bedroom? Is it the bathroom? And save. You have to press save, and the photograph is saved. So what happens within those compartments, you can have photographs for that area. So you could have, week 1 bedroom, week 2 bedroom, so you can see the differences that are taking place. So it's able to measure. One of the pieces of research my colleague and I have undertaken is using visual methods. We found that being able to see using photographs a very powerful tool to help motivate people, to help people to sort of understand the issues and keep working on their problems, seeing the differences and changes. Because quite often people tend to use feelings, they feel I've made this, I feel I haven't done anything. But having a photograph, actually, even though I feel I'm not done anything, but I can see there's a difference between the two photographs, that shows I have done something. It's more concrete and more evidence-based.
I love that. I'm always encouraging my clients to document the process, especially if there's a lull. They can always look back and say, oh my gosh, I've done so much. It's very inspiring. If I guess I will ask, do these photos go anywhere, or do they just...
Okay, the photos remain on your phone. They do not go anywhere at all.
Okay, I know a lot of people are concerned about people seeing their spaces, so I just want to make sure that that's definitely not going to happen. So this is very exciting.
Yes.
That somebody at any time in their journey and any time of the day can start to work on their hoarding behaviors. It's just very exciting.
Yes.
The next tab is My Reclaiming Toolkit.
Yeah. Go on, sorry.
Oh no, please go ahead.
In this section, we have got 7 little tools there for individuals to use to work with their hoarding issues. The first one, if you click on it, is the HOARD acronym. So this is an acronym my colleague and I developed in terms of helping people understand what is about what's happening in the environment. This is where you take the photograph and go into a neutral environment and look at it and answer these 5 questions. So it stands for HOARD. HOARD, H, what happened in this picture? So you describe in detail, it's narrative, it's telling your story. O, what would I like to overcome? What is it? How would I like things to be different? And then A, can I imagine my life without all this stuff? R, how are my relationships affected? Because humans are social animals. Relationships are important. And then what would I like to do about it? The D. And then at the bottom of it is writing your action plan. Now this bit of information, if you'd like us to have it back, it's anonymous. It comes back to me and I can look and add onto a website to just help other people. The next tab is thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. This is very much because this app is based on the cognitive behavioral model. So it uses cognitive behavioral therapy sort of techniques. So here it's very much about helping you to identify how some of your thoughts, your feelings, and behaviors interact and maintain and perpetuate your problems. So for example, if you want to discard something, you thought, oh no, I'll need it. You start feeling anxious, your behavior, you want to keep it and save it. What it does, it just perpetuates the problems. So it's getting you to understand how there's the interaction between our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And then the next one is the grid. Now this is really, really useful. You can use the photographs that you've taken, and what it does, now those who've been working on their hoarding issues and their clutter in their home will know how difficult it is to start. What it does, the grid breaks your room into small sections, so it's much easier, less overwhelming, so everything becomes bite-sized. So you break your room down into small sections and work within each section. And the key principle is that you finish one section and then you move to the next section before you target, move on without completing, you move on to another section, so you don't see the progress. It's about clearing that space. Each square is cleared, and then you move on. And it is also quite satisfying to see that space so that you can celebrate. The next tab is the color card. Now, one of the things that we found, one of the pieces of research that we did was helping people. Living in an environment that's cluttered, you tend to lose the sight of color. You don't see the color of your walls or your carpet, and it becomes very dull and gray. And what we found that by providing a color card, that's something that's significant for the individual. Say, for example, notice on the app, the color orange. That's one of my favorite colors. It's about life. It's about, freshness. So that's why I have those colors that's so significant. So having a color that's significant, placing it around the area or at the area, on the wall or on the pile of stuff that you're working, it helps you to draw your attention. We all know, all of us are aware, when we do something, we tend to move from place to place like flies flitting about. So this is to draw your attention there. And once you've done that, you can use the color card and move on to another area. And then that will just help you to draw your attention. And also what is good about the color card, you can write on it, you can put sayings on it, you can put an arrow on it to say, this is the area I'm working. So lots of people have done different things, which is quite rewarding actually. And then the next tab you have yes, no, maybe. Basically this is about helping you to decide. So quite often we get stuck when we have lots of stuff, not able to decide, what do I need to do? So dividing into 3 piles, yes, that's definitely going up. It's like the traffic light system. The no, which is a red, this is definitely staying, and maybe I'm not sure, the amber. So it's about working out very quickly. It goes very closely with the 10-second rule. I have a rule that you don't spend more than 10 seconds looking at something to put it away, because what happens, the more we look at it, the more meaning we attach on it, the more likely we want to keep it. And it's, oh my gosh, I remember where I got it from. I really need this. If I lose it, we attach more significance and more emotional attachment. We want to keep it. So 10-second rules, have a quick look how it goes. What is good about this, with the maybe, you can always come back at another time when you're not sure and redistribute it again between the yes, no, and maybe. And then the last tab, what I have there is some key questions to help you if you're stuck. It's about what is it that's keeping you going? What is it that actually is maintaining the behaviors there? What is it that's making it difficult for you to actually discard?
I love this. And I love the maybe pile. People are always excited when I say, that's okay. It could be a maybe. And they're like, wow, because a lot of the times people feel so much pressure to decide yes or no. So this is just wonderful. You have so much information on here.
Yes. And the next tab is a nice one. I quite like this because quite often when we feel anxious, we have this fear that anxiety is not going to come down at all. What I get people to think about the anxiety, to remember anxiety does come down, but we as human beings, we want it to get down very quickly. So we tend to sort of, do things to make it easier. Either we sort of stop what we're doing and let the anxiety come down, or we, engage in certain behaviors to bring the anxiety down. So what happens, you never truly get to see that naturally the anxiety does come down. And what this bit of the app does is that you start rating. So you rate at the onset, so your anxiety might be a 10. And at regular intervals, you continue rating it. But the important thing is that you don't do anything artificial to bring your anxiety down. You learn to stay with the anxiety. It's also helping people to tolerate the discomfort that they're experiencing, because we like comfort. We don't like anything that's uncomfortable. We tend to run away from it. So this is getting you to help you see that actually over time my anxiety comes down. I don't need to engage in those behaviors that I engage in to actually bring my anxiety down.
And then next you have your golden rules.
So this is a list of quite an extensive list of golden rules just to help individuals, to start to get going. What are the things that will help you? These are important things, and we have this in the book too. It's about little things like starting off 15 minutes a day. That's the golden rule. So every day, 15 minutes a day. That's consistent. So then you can build up from that, because quite often people say, oh, I didn't get time. They're not asking for large amounts of time, just something regular. We have to stop to eat. We have to stop to shop. We have to stop to shower. Likewise, we also can make time within a day to help us with our the items that we have saved in our clutter.
Wow, this is just amazing. And the price is just really, I mean, this is a lot of information, Satwant. I think a lot of the people that are going to download this app and start using it are just going to be impressed, as I am, about how much you really put into this.
Yeah, I took a lot of time thinking about it, how best we can help. Like the book, a lot of time went into when we were writing the book, thinking about how can the book have a voice with the individuals, so that it connects and makes it easy to work on, and it's not a grueling exercise or punishing exercise. It's about something that you feel motivated to do. And then the next tab is about reclaiming my space, and I think this is very important. My space and my life, because this is crucial to look at what are the new activities you're engaging in. What is it that you're doing differently? Writing them down and looking at what is the impact of this. So for example, having cleared some of your space and inviting someone in, what is that like? Having someone come to your home, how does that feel? What do you feel? What does it bring for you? And that's how to help people motivate and continue building on new activities and re-engaging with the community.
And it's a great way to not feel exposed for people that are afraid to let people in.
Yeah.
And then what are your tips? My tips.
Yeah, it's very much about you as an individual using this app. We all have our own personal tips. We all have this, what is helpful for me. For example, for me personally, a tip for me is that when I come home, before I do anything, I put my bags down. I always deal with my post. What is important is in, the rest is, I put it into the trash straight away. That's a tip, for example. So we all have our individual tips. It's putting them down. You have your own resource. You're building your own resource list. As you're working through this app, you're going to build up more resources for yourself, what you find helpful, what you don't find helpful. Like, for example, you might find that having music in the background helpful, or actually doing some work at this moment so that, in the time before you watch your favorite program, or doing something rewarding after you've completed your clearing out some of the stuff. So those are the tips that put in. And this can be sent back to us that we can put onto a website to help other people. And again, it's anonymous.
Wow, that's fabulous. Your last tab here is contact. And do you get directly contacted? Anyone that's listening or watching now on YouTube can reach you?
Yep, anyone can contact us. It's not a problem at all. So they can contact, and we're more than happy to actually be able to answer some personal questions if they're stuck. We're more than happy to just have problem solve a little bit and help them move on, or get them in touch with people who are closer to them who could support them.
Wonderful. Well, I really look forward to spreading the word about your Reclaim Your Space and Life app. I look forward to reporting to you on what I think is helpful, or if I have any tips when I'm working with clients as well. I have a couple of clients in mind that I really would like to work side by side with on this app. So thank you for showing us all how to use it. It seems very straightforward, very user-friendly, just chock full of information. And I'll go right into your book after that. It reminds me a lot of your book, which I did read and thought was fabulous. And I did lend it to a client. And because we were doing this podcast, I thought I would follow up. I didn't want to give her any pressure. And She's actually reading it, and I'm kind of surprised because it's bright orange, and the last time I was there, I was trying to look around and see where it was and see, not be too obvious about it. But when I did ask her, she had it right on her kitchen table underneath the tablecloth. So that was actually really big because she knew where it was. And so um, I think that's a huge step. And she even said that she was going to bring it out to a family visit over the summer and show her brother, who's also struggling with the same kind of behaviors. So I'm just going to let her hang on to it. I can always order another copy on Amazon, or where else can someone order your book?
Really from Amazon, and you can order them through your bookshops. If you go to your local bookshop and ask for it, they can get them in. I did ask the publishers. They don't usually stock them on bookshops, but they said bookshops, when they place an order, they get delivered to them also. So it doesn't have to be in Amazon. The local bookshops, you should be able to get one if you order through them.
Wonderful. And it's called Overcoming Hoarding.
Yeah, it's Overcoming Hoarding. Yes, that's the name of the book. Again, as you've read it, it's very easy. It's not stigmatizing. It's about having a voice to the individual who's reading and connecting with them and helping them to move on. It's not, pressurizing. It allows you to work at your own pace.
I enjoyed that it wasn't very clinical as well.
Yes.
I know that you have a real great clinical background, but your caring and just understanding was what I really gathered from the book. And I didn't feel overwhelmed with a bunch of clinical terms or, kind of boxed ideas. I've read a lot of different hoarding books, so I really enjoy when people take things and break them down into small bits, like you said with the app. I find that works the best way. And
Indeed.
I'm really excited to have you as a guest here. Thank you so much for joining us.
For inviting me. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Well, collectors, I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. I think anyone who downloads this app for people with hoarding disorder, they're going to truly get some amazing low-cost hoarding help, especially for my do-it-yourselfers out there listening to this Hoardganize podcast. This is just another amazing tool to put in your belt. So if you found this podcast helpful and you're watching on YouTube, please click the thumbs up button, subscribe to my podcast, or leave a comment. Until next time, collectors, and remember, happiness is a place between too little and too much.
Thanks for tuning in to Hoardganize with Rachel Seavey. Listen every Sunday at 6 p.m. or watch on Collector Care's YouTube channel. Rachel is the owner of Collector Care Professional Organizers and Extreme Cleaners located in sunny Northern California. Her passion is helping those overwhelmed with clutter, and she regularly speaks to families, local agencies, and the public about chronic disorganization and hoarding disorder. Her popular Affirmations for Collectors download can be found on iTunes or Amazon. Sign up for her blog and receive 7 tips for clutter-free living at collectorcare.com.